Hi, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be taking a deeper look at the Reiki Healing Store. Now, in my previous video, if you haven't already watched it, make sure to click the link above before watching this video. What I covered was a map analysis breakdown of the area of the healing store, a perimeter check, looking for security cameras and possible entry-exit routes from the burglar themselves. In today's video, we're actually going to be looking inside the store, mapping it out, seeing what items are within, and just to see what angle did the burglar come from, and look for any other little details in between as well. Credit to John, who has enabled me to be able to use some of his footage, as in recent time, John did go out there in Las Vegas, even exploring the canyon as well, where Kenny Veach went and other hikers have been, so that's good of him. He also narrated the Kenny Veach story as per usual, but also added in new information such as the CCTV footage break-in, which others have failed to do so. So it's good what he's done, and I appreciate that he's allowed me to use this footage so I can explain it to you. And I'll provide a link to his channel down below in the comments or the description, okay? So let's get into it now. I'm going to play footage, we're going to pause it bit by bit, and I'll talk as we go through it, okay?
Like the story.
A spiritual journey.
Okay, so to start things off, upon walking up to the entrance of the healing store, there are two key details which I've highlighted with red arrows. Let's start off with the one on the left-hand side. On the door, it gives the opening hours of the gift shop, but it's what's below that's interesting. Energy healing sessions by appointment, 7 days a week, classes and events scheduled regularly. Now, some of you may already know that because previous research shows upon visiting the Enchanted Forest Healing Store website, there's all kinds of classes that go on. Quite a lot to do with spiritual stuff, healing, and even shamanism, and maybe Tai Chi as well. All kinds of things, and hosted by the likes of Ray Veach, Kenny's brother. Thought I'll just include that, okay? Now, if we move over to the right-hand side, another key thing is this box. Now, I don't know if it's some kind of key code, what you'd enter in as like security measures to lock the door, as well as opening it if you don't have a key, maybe. That being the case, I can understand that if a burglar was to come along, they wouldn't know the code, so they would probably just smash in. Hence, the actual outcome of the CCTV footage. So what we've got to determine is what angle, which route did the burglar take? And from the looks of it visually, yes, you do have a door there with a bar that just goes across. So you've got two panes, that's correct wording, of glass. This one and the one below it, which is separated with a bar. So it seems unlikely the intruder would have come through the door because of the security measures, the locks, as well as it not being that accessible because of it being separated, the pieces of glass. Okay, now, upon entering the shop, you are greeted with an array of spiritual items to the left and right-hand side of the screen. As well, in the background, you can see the logo of the store, Enchanted Forest Reiki Center, with the tree logo on. Now, roughly there's at least 3 details to take from this, okay? We'll start off with the right-hand side. As you can see there, upon the ceiling, there seems to be some kind of, I guess, smoke detector, I assume. It's standard practice, standard security measures and safety reasons to have it installed. But I just thought it's worth pointing out. Additionally, I don't know what this is up here. It doesn't look like a light. Could it be a sprinkler system, maybe? I'm just trying to check. I mean, there's a few gaps and there's like a little hole in the middle. Maybe it is a sprinkler system. Extra added safety features. And if not that, it could be air con, okay? Just a small little feature. Now, 2 arrows over here, you got this this woman stood there. We'll get into that later. The most important feature within this shot is on the left-hand side, and it's in the corner of the room. It looks to be a CCTV camera, one of those black circular ones. And you might see a few more within this video, okay? I thought I'd just point it out because what we need to question is this camera. Was this the camera that was featured in the news report of the break-in? Was this the angle it was shot at where it captured the person breaking in or not? We'll find out later, okay? Let's move on more into the shop.
Oh wow, tons of crystals. Look at all these crystals.
So, from what you can see on screen is them looking back the way they came into the store, alright? There are two features to talk about, one of which refers back to the woman stood at the doorway. We'll get into that shortly. But first, on the left-hand side, once again, you have yet another security device. A CCTV camera, one of those black ballpoint style ones which can rotate and move around. And it does look a lot clearer, this image, in comparison to the last slide I showed you. But it's all of the same thing, CCTV camera, and there are multiple within the store. You know, for a small building, there's quite a bit of security measures. But then again, it might be relevant to past experience, such as the 2018 break-in. Maybe they stepped up the security measures and upgraded stuff as well. Because there is a lot of items, as you can see, there's all kinds of items on the wall. I don't know if they're for sale or just for decoration, but nevertheless, they want to make sure nothing gets stolen again. Okay? So, let's have a little quick pan around. I mean, there's a few of those dream catchers, I think, and wing chimes. And some of these dream catchers have that enchanted forest style logo within them of a tree. You can see a few around and stuff, okay? Now, this woman stood here, the one that was originally at the doorway, probably just a customer, just looking at stuff. That wasn't the person who was getting angry, as you saw just like a moment ago or so when John referred back to it on screen with the text. It must have been somebody else, another customer. Now, I didn't see anybody else at the time when John entered, but maybe they were stood behind the woman, or maybe they just moved around once they got in, whatever. But yeah, an unhappy customer. Don't know why or what caused it, what happened. Were they trying to refund an item or some other problems? I don't know, but yeah, a little bit of tension going on. Anything else? Well, in the background, you've got yet another security measure. You've got a fire extinguisher. So, yeah, okay. What else is there? There seems to be another, just behind that red line, there seems to be like a little box or something, or rectangle, I'm not quite sure. Could that be another smoke detector? Or could it be one of those sensors, maybe, which flashes red or so? Maybe. And down below, you've got all these papers on the wall. Now, maybe they're certificates and stuff to do with the practices and people that work there. Maybe. Okay? Right, let's move on.
Looks like somebody wasn't too happy.
Okay, so from this angle, you can see even more items the shop has to offer, ranging from rocks, stones, crystals, a few ornaments in the background, and I guess the odd necklace. The main focus of this angle is there seems to be another room at the back. You can see where the red arrow is. There's a door opening and people going into it. I don't know what's in that room. I don't know if it's connected to any other rooms, but we'll get back to that later on in the video, okay?
So it's very busy here. I don't know if they're going to want to talk about Kenny Veach today. Lady's really mad, huh? This is cool.
Shortly after John pans the camera around, we are then greeted by a collection of gemstones, rocks, and crystals, and one of which looks like a crystal skull. Highlighted in the red circle, if we just take a closer look, it definitely looks like a skull. You have the sunken eye sockets, the nose, and then the jawline and teeth. Most likely hand carved, as the outer layers is quite rough and rugged from the crystal, the rock itself. So it has been carved in to give that skull-like shape, as well as the definitions and features of one. Now, this isn't uncommon, as the store does sell a range of skulls, as we've previously seen in past photos. Okay, is there anything else going on? Not really. I mean, there's a wide collection of rocks and crystals, which is kind of interesting to see. Additionally, later on in the video, there is yet another skull presented within the store, this shiny blue one. Now, I don't know what material it's made out of, but based on the scale and size, this looks more like the type of skull in terms of the characteristics, as well as what you saw in the mine shaft. Now, granted, it may still be a little bit too big compared to the one in the mine shaft, but you get the idea in general.
They have tarot cards.
And then we have some more crystals upon a shelf, these known as lumerins. I think that's how you'd say it. Although these are different, it does remind me of the time when Sean went out on his M Cave hike route, revisiting the supposed covered M Cave. He took a quartz crystal with him and said he brought it for protection to warn off evil spirits and danger. I mean, from a spiritual side, it makes sense to why you'd bring something like that. To question the effectiveness of those sort of things, as well as crystals in his store, is a different story. I'm not quite sure. But nevertheless, it just reminded me. In adjacent to the shelf of crystals, we have a shelf of tarot cards, as John states, and quite a few to say the least, a range of different ones and I guess different themes, all to do with spirituality and stuff. Now, tarot cards can be used for predicting things and outcomes of people, if I'm right in saying, and yeah, can't quite make out what's what on the image because it's a little bit blurry, but maybe some of you will know some of these. Maybe some of you might own or have owned the odd tarot card deck or pack as presented in a screenshot. You got different boxes, different art designs. I mean, the one in the back, far left, says Tarot Grand something. I'm not quite sure what else it says. But yeah, quite a few of them. One says crystal. Yeah. Now, basically, it does remind me of just the whole spiritual theme and topic within the mystery, whether it be Kenny Veach himself, his interest into spirituality, Veach family members owning a spiritual shop, which is Debbie Veach and Ray Veach practicing spirituality and shamanism, and even external people involved in investigating the mystery, such as hikers like Libera Sean, Jay Chuck, who are involved with spirituality and stuff like that. So there's definitely a big overhead link at the end of the day, the theme of that stuff. And even other people that have done those tarot card readings, psychic readings of Kenny Veach's whereabouts, trying to communicate with him from the dead. You've seen a few of those videos previously. I covered one and reviewed one myself, giving my opinion on that. And you know, some people have tried contacting search and rescue, I think, even though it's a bit questionable. Jean mentioned how one psychic reader at one point, using tarot cards and stuff, did a reading and gave coordinates to Jean and the rescue team, and when they went out they didn't find anything. Doesn't surprise me though. So as you saw, a few more spiritual items scattered around the store, including those scented sticks or scented candles. I guess the main use of them is to give off a calm, soothing presence and atmosphere to warn off any negative, bad spirits, etc. I'm not an expert, but I assume that's what it's used for. Now, as said by John within the video, quite a few of the items up for sale are pretty expensive for what they are, even including the tiniest of objects that cost quite a bit. But then again, it's to be expected due to the type of the shop, and maybe even the location too. I mean, sometimes it's not always the typical brand shops which cost the most. When you get these separate individual places which might be a little bit more niche and they do their own thing, it can cost more because they might classify it as a one-off. It's not sold or seen ever before elsewhere. So that can happen at times, yeah. And another small detail I noticed within the clip was in the background audio, I heard someone say aloha, which I think means hello in Hawaiian. I assume that's probably someone that works there, that when greeting someone coming in like a customer. Don't really mean much, but I thought I'd just pick up on it.
So when we walked in, there was a lady here that was mad about something, and now they're calling the police.
Now, I don't know why the people working at the store phoned the police and if they showed up in the end. I mean, from watching the beginning of John's video when they entered, yeah, there was a slight disagreement. Someone said the word bitch, and then there was like a slam of a door.
Don't take me, bitch.
And when the camera pans around, there's only one person stood there, which was the original woman near the door. And the door itself looks like it's half open or moving slightly. So whoever it was, sounds like a female, ended up walking out. So I don't know why they had to call the police in the end. Was it because of threatening behaviour? Is it because she didn't pay for something? She stole something? I don't know. But I guess they did what they did. And as I said, I don't know if the police did turn up in the end because I don't think John was around long enough to see it happen. But yeah.
I went on a walk and I came back and so.
I was in the
Now, I don't know about you, but that male voice in the background sounded very similar to Kenny Veach. Let me play it to you one more time.
I went on a walk and I came back and so.
Yeah, just the tone of voice, the pitch, the volume, everything about it, like the way he's talking, and just the sound of it kind of reminds me of his facial expressions as well when Kenny would talk. It's just weird because when I watched John's video for the very first time, you know, just neutrally watching it, not taking too much in, and I heard that audio, my mind instantly clicked to, wait, is that Kenny Veach within the store? Because it sounds like him. Now, as the camera does pan around, you notice there's not really any males, you know, in sight. I mean, there could be elsewhere, or maybe the individual is outside on the other side of the door, the entrance, because there was like 3 women or something stood near the entrance of the door on the inside. So maybe they were talking to him. But nevertheless, I just thought it was a bit creepy how similar it sounded. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. So I think I'm getting a better understanding of the area and the layout of rooms mapped out. So once again, when John pans the camera around, which you saw earlier on in the video, there seems to be yet another back room entrance with a door and people occupying the room too. And as said below on the screenshot, it's a meditation class. It makes sense because as you saw in the doorway of the store, they do classes, meditation, spiritualism, and all kinds of stuff. So I guess this is the sort of place people go into, which runs 7 days a week, and you do appointments and stuff and meet up. That's what I guess is the case. Now, I don't know if this room is linked on with the other room I showed you. Maybe it is. Is there much else to go off from? Well, as you notice, you know the background where that arrow is, this one here. I think that might well be a window because you can kind of see blinds at the back. Now, to put it into perspective, this room, when looking out of that window, this is what you'll be looking out at. This is what you would be looking at if you was to look out the window, another building. Because if we put it into perspective, if I just move on over this way, You remember that pathway I was talking about? Yeah? Well, this building here on the right is the healing store, okay? And this is the side of the building. Where that car, the white one, is located, that's the front entrance of the store where John entered, okay? So that back room, what we saw, is basically where that window is, I assume, and also where that door is back there, where the meditation classes take place. And that's why you can see those blinds as well going across the window. And that's what you actually saw within the video clip as well. So that puts into perspective where everything is laid out. Now, upon returning to inside the store, looking into the back room, if we just zoom out, I noticed a key detail on the left-hand side of the screen on the shelf, which appears to be the symbol of a pentagram. As you can see, the star. And in addition, above that seems to be some kind of book or picture of an owl. Now, there's different meanings behind those sorts of things. An owl, spirit animal, I guess. I think it resembles knowledge, wisdom, growth, stuff like that within life, within a person developing as a human mentally. In terms of the pentagram, that's kind of different because depending how people interpret it, you know, you've seen it where goths and emos have applied the pentagram and make it look satanic, the devil, evil and dark. And, you know, even, I might be wrong due to the style of it, but that does look similar to the symbol on the Moroccan flag. So I don't know if there is a crossover in meaning or not, but it does look similar and can apply to different situations. That's what I mean. Sometimes it can be interpreted as the use or practice of devil worshipping, satanic worshipping, because there is another pentagram, but it's called the inverted pentagram, where the two tips are actually at the top to represent the horns of a goat. That's like, you know, the proper dark one. But then again, you know, you have seen it times where people have done sacrifices and rituals with the standard pentagram. So, I mean, you can leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about it. But it's just interesting how you've got these sort of items within the store. Could it be something secretly dark within the store? Or is there a bit more light, a bit more meaning behind it, and more innocence, I guess?
Someone buy this thing. Hello. Want to buy this? Are you guys the owners?
No.
Oh. Do you guys know anything about Kenny Veach?
No.
So the reason I heard of this place is because I guess one of the owners is related to a guy that went missing.
Oh, yes, yes.
Named Kenny Veach.
Yes, yeah, Ray's brother.
It's like kind of it's kind of blowing up on the internet right now. thought you guys
that was Ray's
might know something about it.
That was before my time as well.
Oh, before you worked here. Yeah, I guess there was like a break-in in like 2018. You guys knew about that?
A break-in?
Yeah.
I know the break-in, but that was when all the angel works and stuff were.
Yeah. It was the same, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I personally wasn't expecting John to go up, question and confront them about that stuff, about Kenny, the break-in, etc. But he did so, and that was good of him to do. Now, I guess it could have been awkward depending who was working behind the desk at the time, because if it was a Veach family member or someone close, then it could have been a bit awkward. But from the looks of it, the general feedback and response from those two individuals, they seemed either reluctant or a bit reserved, weren't quite sure what was going on. You know, like when John asked them, you heard about Kenny Veach? And at first we're like, no, have you? No. And then one stepped in and said, oh yeah, Ray's brother, or Ray Veach. That's what they said. And thought, oh yeah. It makes sense for them to refer to Ray Veach moreover than Kenny Veach, mainly because Ray Veach does, you know, work at the store or has come in to do classes and practices. So I guess they're better acquainted. And then that might have rejogged one of the workers' mind and thought, oh yeah, Ray Veach, Kenny Veach, the brother of that, yeah. So I guess they kind of understood where they were going then. And then when John said about the break-in, they weren't quite sure. They were like, no, I've not heard of that, no. And a bit later, one of the individuals, I think it's the same person, ended up saying, oh, well, I remember one to do with the statues and stuff. What she's referring to, the statues and stuff, is basically the items that were damaged. You know, if you remember in the news report, I think one woman was holding up like the odd statue or something because of the damage to the property when the burglar entered or exited, knocked over statues, and that's what caused that. So I guess she was aware of that break-in. In the end, she was aware of Kenny, she was aware of the break-in, but wasn't around at the time when it happened. So I guess, there you go. But, you know, it's still kind of interesting. I mean, is there a possibility that they do know more, or there could have been someone lurking in the store or in the back of the room listening in? I mean, where's Debbie at? Is she working there? Is she in a different room? Is there a different floor? I don't know, or maybe she was out at the time elsewhere, but it makes you think, was there anyone listening in, or did the people that working behind the desk end up collaring someone afterwards or calling someone afterwards saying, hey, this guy turned up and then started asking questions about Kenny Veach and, you know, the burglary? Because I'm confident that not many people have gone into that shop like John did and asked questions like that, saying that sort of stuff. So, you know, I can understand that maybe the people working behind the desk were a little bit taken back by it and thought, oh, wasn't expecting that. So, yeah. So, with all that in mind, you know, the perimeter check, the inside check, the rooms, the items, the little symbols and, you know, little key details, the ultimate question is, what about the desk? What about the entrance exit route the burglar took? And I think it seems quite, you know, evident what we're looking at. Let's go back and assess it. So, when you tie it in all together, the original woman stood by the side near the door, as well as John himself walking up to the desk. It all resides on the left-hand side upon entering the door. That's the entrance there. And then when walking in on the left-hand side, this is the desk, as you can see, just behind those women. There's a table. And then as well, there's a little table as well, just over there. So that's where the payments are made. That's where, I guess, maybe the cash register is. And that's where the iPad originally was, right? Well, wrong. Because the actual desk was in a different position back in 2018. Let me share that with you. So, to put it straight, the actual layout of the desk was actually in a different position back in 2018. And I've labelled it on screen so it's easier for you to understand. So, yes, you've got the burglar there, supposedly Kenny. You've got the desk down here with all paperwork and bits of things on it and items, as you can see. And then you've got the front door, which is back here. You can make out the glass panes and the bar going across, which is the door. And that's the same door what you saw John walk through when he entered the building. Now, when John entered the building in his video, the desk wasn't there. What was there was basically a wall with that symbol on it saying welcome to Enchanted Forest. It was the left hand side where the desk was when entering in. In addition, I just wanted to point out the actual entry point then, if the burglar was to break in at the time back in 2018, would have been on the left hand side where the desk is now. Therefore, ultimately, the windows highlighted in the oval were the windows which the burglar broke into, whether it be the left-hand side pane or the right, it doesn't matter. And the desk, which is now in front of the windows, would have been to the side on the right. Does that make sense? And as well, the windows here, you can see the blinds briefly going across. And when the burglar broke in, he ended up flicking the blinds all over the place. So, there you go. This is the spot where the burglar originally broke into. From this side, from this entrance. And now the most critical part. With taken in mind my previous video, the outside perimeter check of the building itself, of the left-hand side where the burglar broke into. If you remember, just above on the rooftop on that side, there is a CCTV camera right there, which would have captured everything from that angle, the burglar broke into. Wouldn't it reveal the identity of the person? Wouldn't it show which angle they came from and maybe if there was anyone else there with them? Surely. And even though, you know, you got the camera on the front as well, the entrance, you could have seen a different angle as well. So with both of those critical points being captured on camera, why did the owners, why did Debbie not look at that footage? Did she have the cameras turned off on that night outside? Or did she just not bother checking the footage? Or did she delete it? Because that footage would have captured the burglar most likely in some way or another. The front face or the back of them, whatever it may be. But it wasn't shown in the news report, was it? It wasn't shown to the police. So why did they not bother? Is it because they were hiding something? It does seem a little bit odd, right? And I'll just throw in another point just to really reinforce it. When you're on the street view on the main road, I set the date back to 2018 just to double check that there was a CCTV camera on that side of the building, and there was. So you can't, you know, try and counter that. I mean, if it was such a situation where there was only one camera at the time on the front, and that was it, it would be more understandable to why there is a second camera now on that side because of trying to prevent another burglary taking place. But because we know that camera was already on that side of the building before the break-in, you know, it would have captured whatever, whoever, most likely, providing the cameras were on, okay? So hopefully this video explains everything. The angles, the perspectives, the room, the layout, the change of positions of the desk, you know, and the other little items and little details and symbolisms within the video itself. If you spotted anything else odd, strange, any signs, any odd items, any coincidences or links, ties, whatever it may be, feel free to leave a comment down below and let me know what you think of this video. One took quite a bit of time to edit and put together because of all the little fiddly bits and references back to past videos and coverage, but I felt it was important to make it as clear as possible and also just speaking as well, so hopefully I did that and you understand now. What's next? Well, we'll see. Who's next? We'll find out. For now, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.